When you can get the planning correct and then you see that the cattle are happy, they're moving in the landscape, grazing properly, and then behind them you see the landscape flourishing and improving, it's a very joyous and satisfying moment. I'm Nick Austin. We live on Mundalo, which is a 1,500 hectare property in the southwest slopes of New South Wales on the banks of the Murrumbidgee River, and it runs from alluvial river flats up until sort of rolling granite hills. We run purely beef cattle in a self-replacing breeding herd and a trading herd where we sell and buy cattle and mainly background them for feedlots. The breeding herd is 150 with their followers behind them. The trading herd has currently got about 250 animals in it. So we aim to handle our animals using low stress stock handling methods on regenerative practices or principles. The first thing you can do is bring mobs together to have fewer mobs. That increases your recovery time in your pastures and minimises overgrazing. So by having fewer mobs, you've got less mobs to check. It saves time, it's more efficient. By moving them often and minimising the time they're on a particular piece of land, you're helping the landscape itself, you're helping plants. And that will get our recovery right. Ecologically, we're slowly seeing improvement, and I also know that we're making money. Year in, year out, we've made a steady profit ever since we started managing regeneratively. Traditionally, grazing was you parked animals in a paddock and left them there all year round, and probably varied numbers a little bit depending on grass availability. And that was sort of the mindset when I came home. But luckily for me, I did holistic management and also did pro-graze. One of the big paradigms is that time is the thing that controls your grazing. And it's also the planning behind the whole grazing, measuring pasture and then how many animals you can run to meet that pasture demand. And then there's the actual movement of the animals through the landscape and how you manage that movement, but also the time factor and when they come back, so that recovery time is key. And on top of that all is monitoring that process to know whether you've made the right decision or whether you've made the wrong decision. I believe you need to do some form of structured training. I did my initial training in 2001. I didn't do a thing for 9 years because I felt alone, I felt scared. Even though we were in a drought and it was horrible, I just didn't know where to start. What I wish I had was a network around me of like-minded producers who you could bounce ideas off, to have that support, hear from their mistakes. And that came to me, luckily, only a year on when we sort of made the transition, forming 8 Families, which is our holistic support group, who are just a wonderful bunch of humans. We've got a vision of how we see the landscape in which we live and in which we operate. Things like a robust, diverse grasslands with scattered trees and clean water running through creeks, a nice thick absorbent soil sponge. And so front of mind for us is things like you've got to have a diverse landscape. Because if you don't have a diverse landscape on top of the soil, there's not a diverse landscape underneath. So our decisions around grazing management have got those things front and centre because they are within a holistic context. It's slow and steady for us, it suits what we want to do. And the main benefit of this type of grazing is you're mimicking nature. Mimicking those sort of migratory herds of Africa and the prairies of America. I just remember what it was like when I first got home and we hit the millennium drought. I actually get very emotional thinking about how tough it was, you know, having animals and feeding them day in, day out for long stretches of time. The financial worries, the stress, and then just recently, I've been through now a very dry period and I have been so much more comfortable, so much more in control of how we've managed the animals and managed our landscape. We're a profitable business, but most of all, we're happy and healthy.